The Brutally Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia. For over 30 years, they have been the go-to destination for all your music merch needs. From working with today's hottest bands to create truly one-of-a-kind pieces, as well as boasting a truly massive online store, Rockabilia is your one-stop shop when it comes to band merch. Use our code BRUTALLY at checkout and take 10% off your total purchase order. Huge thanks to Rockabilia for their continued support, and now, on to the show.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brutally Speaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is Jake from In Heart's Wake. This was a really fun chat, and honestly was a long time coming for a multitude of reasons. Initially, Jake and I were supposed to do a chat when the band had put out the documentary, I think it was about 2 years ago now, and for a few reasons, it just never came to fruition. And honestly, I'm kind of glad it didn't, because now here we are. Incarnation is out. Everyone can hear it. There's new music to talk about. And honestly, beyond what I probably would have focused on initially, which is just more of their being very cognitive of their output of, you know, things that are destroying and hurting the world and so forth. Kind of talking more about a creative process of looking back while moving forward. And honestly, it's something if there's any continuity between doing these intro and outros, and even the episodes that have been coming out week after week, is obviously my surgery. When I'm recording this, it is literally going to happen tomorrow. It's been kind of interesting to go back through these conversations with some of the guests and kind of almost in a reverse chronological way of the process of me finding out what was going to happen and kind of dealing, or in some instances not dealing, with what's happening. And when I kind of, I think at the time of doing this chat, I think I had set the surgery date. So I knew that there was a date. I knew surgery was happening, and I knew that I was going to be dealing with it, and dealing with all of the work, the FMLA, and scheduling physical therapy and rehab and all that kind of stuff. And it's been interesting to kind of do these intro outros as the date is literally approaching, and as when I'm doing this, it's the day before, and that it is a thing where it parallels the last month, basically, of this podcast, of the journey of what is my life looking like. What do I think it's going to look like? Kind of reflecting on where it is, and all of that. And honestly, remembering when doing this conversation and getting the record, and how Incarnation basically takes the band back to creating a companion piece of sorts for their first record, getting some of the same guest vocalists, like with Winston, and kind of approaching where you've been to where you are now, and kind of having them cross-sect to your present. And obviously, if you've listened to this show, that is something I talk about all the time. And granted, it's usually due to me doing mushroom trips and stuff like that, where I get kind of fascinated with the idea and the duality of creatives and people in general. But this takes it to a whole nother level. And like I said, to have it mirror so much of my life recently, thinking about past and present and future the way I have, it's just kind of been funny to think about that, how it really is interesting to just see this process for myself, and how it correlated listening to this record to all of that in the beginning of the process. And now that I'm listening to it still a day away, I'm kind of approaching things more differently, and instead of kind of focusing more on the past, I'm kind of thinking about where I am now and where I'm going to be and what I want to achieve and do, and as much as I can. And I don't know, it's just kind of, like I said, a very interesting way to kind of exist on either end of these things, and kind of going in unbeknownst to me at the time of when these episodes are going to drop, but just how odd it just life panned out this way for past conversations and what I'm going through currently. And honestly, the other thing too, thinking about it, like even still when I listen to this album, and it's really cool to see a lot of people gravitating toward this song, but with Mishigama, it's a thing where to see, my friend, Alfonso from Heartsick, seeing, Chad from For the Fallen Dreams, and, even Don being on this, Don Bauer being on this track, and just seeing the love that, basically In Heart's Wake is giving, Michigan, it kind of a second home for them. And there's a parallel there for me, even like Michigan isn't where I'm from. I'm from Delaware, but Michigan is predominantly my home, but it is technically my second home. So there's been a lot of weird parallels leading up to this conversation with Jake, and even now since it's been done and getting ready to do this, so I'm not missing an episode while I'm potentially rehabbing and all that, recouping after surgery. But just so funny to see how life kind of just aligns this way sometimes. And I'm really proud of everyone involved in this on the Michigan side of things, because I think, I see someone like Chad, like I just saw him perform with For the Fallen Dreams about 3 weeks ago now on the last couple of Misery Signals shows here in the States. And it was really cool to kind of get to see them, doing their thing. And obviously most of the band is in different places in their lives than they were when Changes came out 16 years ago, I think now. So it's just really been interesting to kind of see people still grinding, still doing this thing all these years later. And while I would say everyone's doing it better, I think there's also something to be said about not forgetting the youthfulness in you, the kid in you that wants to be excited about things, and, kind of getting to share in things with others that help you along the way. And I don't know, there just seems to be a little, like I'm smiling literally as I'm saying all that, because to me, I remember Josh and Alfonso and everybody getting so excited about In Heart's Wake coming to record with Josh forever ago now. And to see that this band is still doing it, still, I think, doing it at a very high level. Probably, I think this record, Incarnation, is probably one of my favorites and the best to me, because I think it hits on so many things. But I also wonder, what's next? Where do you take this from here? And just talking to Jake about intent and just kind of being very focused and driven and understanding what you want out of something. I think it's an invaluable thing to know, and to know it so wholeheartedly, as I feel like Jake and the In Heart's Wake guys have always been, is also really, really awesome to see that, you can put your heart into something and do it with integrity, do it with intent, do it with passion, and that you will be rewarded for all of those things. So without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Jake, and I'll talk to you on the other side of it. When it goes, there we go. So I was kind of wrestling with where to start things off with this, because this has been unusual for me to just keep going back and forth and rescheduling. So something I thought I would share, because maybe it'll lead to something kind of interesting, given sort of what the album to me deals with at times. So initially, when we were supposed to do this about a week ago, I had to go to an orthopedic, basically a surgeon, to get my foot looked at. One of my biggest fears is like an Achilles, like watching horror movies and shit, like Achilles slicing, anything to do with feet and compound fractures just freaks me the fuck out. So I was stressing real bad, knowing that I had to go to this appointment the next day. And in my head, I didn't think it would be fair to you to kind of not be all in be present for you. And I feel like there's a little bit of obviously honesty in that, and kind of a dealing with your fears and things that you are not comfortable with. But I also didn't really know how at the time to articulate that, because I was like, oh, I was still in like a sense of denial of like, maybe if I just do this thing, surgery won't be the outcome. It'll just be these things, and it'll be a little bit like a bump in the road. Since then, I have an MRI tomorrow I have to go to, but essentially it seems like surgery is sort of a foregone conclusion. And it's been really tough to not think of all the things I'm not going to get to do in the recovery process of, surgery on my foot and the rehab process of all that. But I also think it's kind of allowed me to sort of want to and embrace going out, even in just like a week of being like, oh, I should go to this show, even though I don't want to, because like I may not get a chance for a while. I don't know when this is going to take place. And it kind of made me think of, you guys losing, one of your band members, and you guys have been a band for so long, and just sort of the fear and uncertainty that probably brought for all of you. But, obviously going through it and doing so at such, I would say from an outsider with grace and all that kind of stuff. And so I guess first of all, I want to thank you for the understanding that just life shit happens, but also I've sort of found a weird parallel in prepping for our conversation in what I'm dealing with internally.
Wow. It's a lot. That's a lot you're going through. Hey, the surgery, like, so you got to get surgery in your foot.
Yeah. Seems that barring the MRI coming up with different results, but essentially I need to have a plate put on my ankle and a bolt or a screw that kind of keeps it together. And then I found out apparently there's such thing as your calf muscles not being long enough. So apparently that might be a thing we end up doing too, which also sounds horrible and disgusting. But again, not really much I can do currently.
Yeah, that's big. That's really big.
Yeah, I know, like that's probably not something that many people are kind of correlating to your band and stuff like that. Is just like sort of this sense of loss and all these kind of things, but also using it sort of as an inspiration to kind of navigate their own hardships and shit. But something I've been thinking about, like I said, the last week leading up to this, of just kind of like listening to the new record and just thinking, there's so many interesting topics and conversational points. And I guess to kind of start off, a big one for me was obviously the concept, and correct me if I have this wrong, but the concept behind Incarnation being essentially the reverse, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, Divination. I think that's wrong of how I'm saying
it. Divination.
Okay. Deriving from the tarot cards and so forth. And sort of another story is I recently had my cards read by a friend's wife, and something that I thought was really intriguing when I got your new record is, it's sort of the upside down of, Divinate. I'm just going to say that first record just so I don't keep butchering it. But it was a thing where I had a handful of my cards that were upside down, and she had kind of explained to me that while some people would say that these are negative and bad things, the way that she likes to approach it when reading your cards is that it's something you just haven't gotten the tools for yet. You don't understand the full capability of what this is. You haven't earned that tool. So when I kind of was listening to the record and kind of thinking about these things, it kind of made me wonder, do you tend to see things, instead of being in a negative light, in a more positive light?
Yeah, that's good that when I say it's good, it is a responsibility of a tarot reader to not just give someone like a doomsday prophecy. It's like tarot is it's about navigating where one is at and showing us where we're headed towards. If we stay on the current path, then it will meet that shadow of that thing. And so often the flipped cards, it gives like a polarity or a heads or tails to the same coin, but it can show that we're in excess of something, which can be the positive. The silver lining of that is to obviously drink less, or to do be less like this thing, so we can come back into balance. And so that's really like, look, the record. Yeah, all of when I was getting into the what each lyrical meaning really was speaking to. It was speaking into the shadows, the excess, the dark, if you will, which are like just super important, because we are always a duality. Like we always have these two things going on. Like the medicine of the anger, the medicine of the thing is that it's going to force you into hibernation, which you can see as a bad thing, but maybe it's a time to draw more, or to create more, or to like look at yourself, internally more, as opposed to going out and getting the distractions of the world. Who's to say what that meaning is? That's only for one to know in deep within inside themselves. But that's what I believe, at least, that life is showing me that it's directing me here, and not what's the silver lining, what's the positive thing, but what's it showing me that I need to look at. And I think that's really what we're sort of speaking about with this record, and that's how it spoke to you, which is really cool. Like, because it's fully valid and fully real what you're going through, man. Like, it's big. That's when it's big. It's massive. I can't even. I love my ankles, so it's hectic to think
Yeah.
having metal. Like, but just to say that our tour manager's got plates all through himself. He's fine now, but like, it happens. It's just part of like the learning experience that John is apparently signed up for. I guess I should. I'm gonna have my own set.
Well, I think something interesting in that to me is sort of, and this is sort of what the podcast has become over the last handful of years, is sort of the self-exploration of how do we get to these things that we come to. So for me, it was really interesting with the tarot reading. I had started going to therapy around the same time, maybe 6-8 months before that. And it was really interesting to see how the therapy and the tarot stuff kind of mimicked a lot of the same information that was kind of being given to me from two separate sets of people. Literally one somewhere here in the US, because I did it through an online service. And then, my friend's wife lives over in Germany. So it's funny that there's no connection between these two people or the sets of information they're giving me other than me and the time that we shared. And so it was just really interesting and almost comforting to kind of be like, oh, this thing seems kind of scary, because it, we don't necessarily want to be told that we're bad or that something bad is going to happen, but it then becomes this thing of how do you deal with the information that you're given and how do you move forward? And something that I think was a big turning point for me was letting go of control of things and not over analyzing and overthinking everything to death, solving all the hypothetical what ifs and kind of being more present in the moment and just dealing with what I could deal with. Ironically, when I got the news that I needed surgery last week, like I had a fucking 10-minute pity party with my wife in the car and just cried. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, who has 2 months or 6 weeks at least just to heal, and then the rehab process from there? And I'm like, who the fuck? Like, I can't walk anywhere. I can't do anything. Like, how am I going to make money? And I just started spiraling. And then I just had to remember the therapy things that I taught. And even, going back to my tarot reading of just dealing with the things that I can deal with, and almost the same thing. It may seem like an upside down card. It may seem like a negative thing, but what I'm interested in and kind of discovering moving forward is what will I gain in this 2 to 3 month process of rehabbing, and what will I gain moving forward through going through all of this. And to me, I wonder how intentional you are, or if that's something that maybe through therapy or something else, you've kind of come to that same conclusion, because it seems like from the jump, you, at least professionally and what you put out with your music and so forth, it seems very intentional. Nothing is done just half-assed or for just because.
It's definitely intentional. I haven't look, life is therapy. I don't see I don't see a therapist. That's not to say that I don't do all kinds of I just do daily reflection. Like, a lot of the time I'm doing a lot of I do a lot of I don't it's like a cringe at all the words I can think of to describe. Meditation's a cringe word. Deep work's almost cringe. Not that they are cringe things, it's just like there's such a stigma around these things. Even when I say it, I'm like, oh, it's like there's got to be a better word for these things. But look, there's a lot of work. I feel like I'm doing a lot of work on myself constantly. And for me, my therapist is the natural world. Like, that works for me. When I'm still and I'm out like sitting or being at often the same spot, like every day as much as possible. I say the same spot because we like, you notice the things that change in the environment day in, day out. Noticing how, oh, today I feel more restless than I did yesterday. It's colder than it is yesterday. Oh, it's hot, it's sun, whatever it is. There's like a full presence and a returning to that same area. That what happens is I start to be like, wow, why am I feeling this way? Wow, the ripples in the water are like that thing that I, whatever it is, it mirrors back for me, at least constantly what I'm sort of processing, and allows me to like really sit with that. And that's been a huge tool for me, at least. Not that I have all the answers, but because I don't, but it often just like the things I need to look at are like, wow, I feel like so overwhelmed by this thing, I'm sitting with, and I'll come back and maybe the penny will drop. Journaling really helps as well for me. Like when I'm really feeling something, just writing out what I already think that I know, writing it out. Like, did I just write that? Like, you know what I mean? You read it back. Even if I don't read it back, just getting out and putting it on paper feels like I've just done like a hard drive dump.
Yeah.
Bring up the RAM. So I do a lot of stuff like that, and that allows me to process things. My mom is a tarot reader, has been since I was a kid. That being said, I don't like seek tarot readings from her. Obviously, I've got her as a mom growing up and things like that. It's really helpful, which I'm super grateful for. But she's not my therapist and is not my tarot reader or anything like that. But I'm around it, is what I'm saying. I'm surrounded by it, and I like to steep myself in those worlds where I can. Is sort of the answer, and therefore the music. When we make a song and put all that time, all that effort, all that money, all that energy, it's like, yes, it's got to be intentional for me, at least, or else why the heck am I doing it?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who, I don't know if it's a fear of being honest with themselves that makes a lot of people scared to do these things or seek inward for resolution or any of those kind of things. But like I said, it's been interesting to kind of see your career, because I feel like it's so closely tied to where I live. Like I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I know Josh. I know like the Heartsick dudes and stuff like that, and all the like a lot of the bands that have you've done guest vocals for here, through knowing Josh and so forth. But I feel like so much of your band's story sort of is firmly ingrained here in Michigan somehow. Like even though you're not from here, it just feels like it's such a huge part of your identity to me when I think about you guys. It's like, oh, you're just the band from way up north in Michigan. Like, and I forget that you're from a whole nother country. And it's a thing where when I think about that, what is it like to kind of have somewhere be a second home for you? Do you somehow get or draw something from being here when in your creative process?
Like it's funny, I haven't felt a kinship to the land of Michigan, personally. I do feel it in New York State because I'm half American. It's my family comes from, so that land there really speaks to me. But it's the people in Michigan that feel like family. It's more tied to the people than it is the land, and look, the people have just been really really so kind to us. And I don't know if it was because we're Australian or because Michigan's kind of, more or less landlocked. I mean, Canada's damn close. Don't get me wrong, you got a huge lake, but it's very much shrouded in that you're not just getting like, someone from London dropping in, someone from Hawaii dropping in. Like that happens on the coasts much more, Yeah. And with that, there was this, oh, wow, you've come all this way to be here. Like, we want to make you feel at home, and like, there's interest, and there's this beautiful, like, we call it like in Europe, it's like, there's nothing like German hospitality. Like they will cook for you. They will like put good roofs over you. Like they always look after you in Germany. And I feel like Michigan has that similar, like there's nothing like Michigan hospitality. Really always taking the time to have conversations, and the people aren't like they're beautiful people, but they're not like supermodels, nor are they trying to stand out as the darkest people in the world with like, in the dungeons, and like, they're not like they're not trying to stand. They're just being like themselves, and there's like a really like humanness there that I think endures the coldest, hardest winters, and that's what we have got out of our records, is going to always to Michigan in the coldest, hardest winters to make records and to endure. And not for it to be a hard and serious thing, but to have the fun. Where's the fun in it too? And like finding the joy in the the Halo samples, or the playing video games with Josh, the guy we record with, whatever it is, going bowling with fucking David from King. Like, we'll always find something fun to do in the hard winter, but there's something about that that does make us feel like Michiganders, like, to a degree, and our band is linked to that place. But it's really like through Josh as the keyhole, which has like been this doorway to meeting Heartsick and Chad for the Fallen Dreams. They've always looked after our band, and it's been really special to say that and to live that.
I think something that's always funny is I feel like Josh, being the ultimate hermit that he is, just likes people to be miserable and locked up in a compound with him, so he at least sees people somewhat consistently, because I feel like otherwise it'd just be him and his wife and like, their video games, and that'd be about the existence of their life, other than I think the few sporadic times a year that Josh will actually come out and come to shows and stuff like that.
Potentially. Yeah, or maybe he would be so deprived of human contact that he'd realize, wow, because I don't have the world coming to me, I need to go out to the world.
I always says he looks like a wrestling manager when he comes out, because he usually is like way overdressed, like doesn't look like anyone else at the show, and just kind of hangs around like a proud dad. And you're like, that's the only time you ever come out, is to see the bands that you recorded and hang out with. And I barely ever see him other than those things, but it's always like a Bigfoot sighting when you see him. You're like, holy shit, are you here?
That's well put. Yeah, wrestling manager Bigfoot, totally. What a sweet guy with like baby hands, like big hands. He's got massive hands, really big hands. Like, he's got him on a guitar. He's just like, how are you even hitting the string? He hits it so well, but like they're so big. But yet, when I say baby hands, he's on the keyboard, and he's not like out there doing construction.
That just reminded me, I had sent him a thing. I can't remember where he posted, but I was like, oh, I'm talking to you guys. I should have looked it up earlier. But I was like, oh, do you have anything from recording this record to bring up? That'd be funny. And I forget what he actually said. I was trying to call him earlier to be like, hey, do you want to pop in for a minute and just shoot the shit? Because I always think it's kind of interesting, the process that he gets in, where it's like, he'll kind of be whatever you want him to be, but also that he wants to get in there with you. He wants to, make the best thing for you. And I don't think necessarily that it's not that other producers don't do that, but I just don't think they do it with such a grace, for lack of a better term, where it's like, that he wants the best for you, not because he wants to get a songwriting credit or, some pub or something like that. It's because he wants what's best for you and what's best for the song. And to have, the legacy that he's built for himself at this point of just kind of being, a friend more than anything else, I think is something that can't be overlooked. And it's why I'll always on this show give him all the flowers that I possibly can when talking to anyone that's worked with him, because I think he is just a really great person, like a one-of-a-kind person that I hope everyone either A, gets to meet, or B, gets to experience firsthand at some point.
Yeah. Look, I can't say anything. You've said it all. He's incredible. He's family at this point. Yeah.
Something, kind of talking a little bit more about this record, and something I was thinking about is, obviously with its correlation to the first record, how was it to kind of, I don't want to say, I guess the only way I kind of came to the question is, sort of looking at your first record from a new vantage point, like 12 something years later. What did you learn about yourselves and the band in the process of making this record, when you're kind of looking at it through a different prism of the first record?
That we've grown up. Yeah, that we've grown up a lot. Yeah, there's like the world is your oyster kind of. Like, it's not ignorance is bliss, because it's perfect what Divination was. And we weren't ignorant. It was just like the world, we literally hadn't set foot in so many of these countries. Like, it was all a new experience. And not to say that we're jaded and we're old now, but there's just a realization of like, okay, like there's also things that we need to sort of there's different needs now.
Mm.
And that is like, what does your own home look like? We can't just rent and live on a parent's basement anymore. Like, for instance, Divination, it's just a different time. And so with those different needs comes like a coming of age of like our parents are getting, older now. They like just, our grandparents are no longer with us, whereas they were before. We are that we've had a generational like step up, it feels like, into like early 30s, mid 30s, where we don't feel old, but there's like, no, we're like men now. We're not just boys that can just, just, I don't know what I'm trying to find here, but we can't just, everything has to be more intentional, I think now. Like time, it feels more precious somehow. Not that it wasn't precious back then. There was just a less realization of the presence that there is now. And so looking at it through that prism, there's just the like we kind of wanted the world to change, or there was more of like the world like can be, and then seeing how it's shifted in 12 years without being negative. It's like, maybe the stuff that's going to shift is more in here than out there. And I think this record is like more of an internalization, more of a inwards look, and a more diving into like the darkness of the band and ourselves that we have to sort of face, as opposed to the forest and the light that was Divination. This is the nighttime. This is very much the 12th hour.
I think something that's kind of interesting and sort of, again, kind of correlating to me and where I'm at personally, I'm getting ready to turn 40 in a couple of months. So I've just really been thinking about life and the quote unquote eras of my life, my 20s, my 30s coming to an end, what 40 looks like. And I've always had the belief that I've never been scared of getting older. I feel like it's a thing that you earn. Because for the most part, you're not going to live long and just be a shit fucking person and, still somehow make it through. Like something's going to happen. It's either going to change you or the path you're on will take you and kind of destroy you due to your own, things. But I think something that's kind of interesting that I think about, and again, kind of thinking about, the different approach from the first record to now and everything that's happened in between, thinking about how when we're younger, there's almost this like fuck it attitude where you just kind of do things because you don't know any better. And I still haven't figured out if that's actually a really good thing and that we should hold on to more of that, because that then leads us to not overthink something and be like, I shouldn't do that because what if this happens? And it's like, well, you don't know. But then I also think about how when you get older, there sort of is something about how you're able to focus the things where it needs to be. And when listening to the new record, I think you and seemingly everyone, like I saw the clip, Jake from ABR posted listening to the new record being like, or the new song being like, is this Incarnate's Wake? This doesn't sound like the band I remember. And to me, I think everyone's so focused on how heavy it is. And to me, I feel like when I've listened to the record, I think I've gone through about 3 full listens. I feel like it's not necessarily that it's sonically heavier. I just feel like it's more focused. And I feel like that's something that you gain from either just more time on the earth or just understanding that I can't be mad all the time. Like I just need to focus that energy somewhere for it to be more positive. So I kind of, I guess, wondered if that was something that you've felt and noticed going into this record, and even now, because I know you said you just got the test press for it, some 6 months later. So you're kind of hearing everything with fresh ears instead of being kind of fatigued. What do you notice about the record that kind of stands out to you?
It's definitely more focused. Like we've definitely refined what we feel is effective and isn't effective. And so it can also be a trap, I have to say, like just to, give you a trap that we think we can go down one path without being spontaneous to go down another. So there's that. But look, I believe, it's a fact. We've gotten better at our instruments. Like you do anything, 1,000 hours or whatever the thing is, and we've done plenty of hours on our instruments. We've definitely improved a lot at our craft, and it is more focused. And we can't there's an experimentation on this record for sure, but there's still no we're our best critics, so that there's no fooling, there was no fooling ourselves. And like and at times, like I tried to fool myself, like that'll do. Well, yeah, that's good. Like whatever. And I listened back to it in the studio, and I'm like, that has to be redone. Not because it was bad, but because it like wasn't authentically like in it to deliver what the line needed to be. So I found myself removed enough from myself to be able to witness and judge that as just like an expression, and then I would be able to tap back into that and I don't say correct it, but to really get into that space of that's real. And sometimes even in my overthinking, I would think that I could do it better, but actually I'd already done it what it needed to be the first time. And that's confusing as well. But sometimes I did, like for Orphan, it was pretty much like, it wasn't one take, but it was like, I think it was almost everything that we did was like more or less the first or second time that I performed that part. I didn't like we wrote it and literally performed it like in the same day or whatever. Like it wasn't like there was long periods between. And sometimes that first expression is the most real because it's right on the cusp of why you wrote the piece that you wrote it. And so I think there's just the intuition is perhaps more on point with this record, with our feelings towards knowing whether it's on or it's off. And so that bit of it's really refined. It's like gut feeling. It's like a barometer that goes, yep, like that's good, follow that, or yep, that's good, leave it. And so if anything, like, yes, better instruments, but I think there's something in that with this record, in the focusing of comes that like that intuitive compass that I think I felt was really on for what this record needed to be with each song, and no, like there's no sort of interlude, like, which I love interludes, don't get me wrong, there's no like intermission that brings you to a point to just sort of bring the energy down. Instead it was, no, this has to be relentless, like it's intentionally relentless, and it keeps you sort of guessing. That's my skill done.
Well, as I say, something I've really, and this is something I'm trying to navigate through, where I don't know if I'm seeking out these things or if it's just coming into my life and I'm kind of taking stock and noticing them as they're happening. But there's been a lot of records lately that I've kind of been listening to. Unmaker by the band LLNN. Someone showed me that somewhat recently, and it's just, when I've been showing it to everyone, because I'm like, this record is just, it's unlike anything I've ever really experienced. And it's a whole thing. Like you have to listen to the whole thing start to finish. And I go, something I'm kind of starting to realize at times is things that make me feel uncomfortable, or as I keep saying, just allowing yourself to wallow in despair, allow yourself to feel these things, the weight of everything, even if it's just music, but like what it evokes out of you mentally, physically, whatever, emotionally. And I think that's just something either I'm seeking out, and I haven't really tapped into why, but this new record kind of satiates that same itch, where it's like, it feels like I just need to let it happen to me. It's almost like, the best way I can describe it at times is like, it's like Venom with the symbiotic, suit, where it's like you can fight it, but it's going to take over. You just got to let it go and go through the ride. And again, kind of going back to, therapy and all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, what am I looking for out of this? What is it teaching me? And I think in that, like I said, I listen to this song, track 7, track 12, or, whatever. It's like, you have to start it and end it. And to me, when I listen to that, I'm intrigued to see how others will take it and how it'll make them feel, and some of the things people may share with you, their experiences with it, because I think this is a full-on album experience. And I think in a lot of times where people are not focused on that, like I said, intention seems very present with this. So I'm very intrigued to see how people react to this record and what it evokes out of them. Because now the weird thing is, when this record comes out, it's not yours anymore. And that's got to be a weird thing, where it's like, it was this for me, and then it gets released, and now it's not that anymore. It morphs into something else, and it becomes almost like a collective experience for everybody. So I always find that kind of interesting to see how people sort of start navigating this is coming out, it's no longer just mine, and what people end up kind of sharing with you as you start doing more of this, and then obviously touring behind it.
Yeah, you can't control any of it. In some ways, yeah. All we control is what we can control now is the narrative in terms of what song we release next, the single order, and the storytelling. We can't control how it's received. Never can. So, yeah, like it's all. I mean, we're getting good at that now. At this point, that many records, never can control any of it. But we can control the mouthpiece that which it comes through. Like that's the there's an art to storytelling. Like, you can have the same story told by 10 different people, but it can hit differently depending on who tells it. And that now social media is a massive tool for storytelling. Let's be honest, as well as on stage, those are storytellers delivering their songs, their art, which have probably been told many different times before with the different meanings, but it's not in that way, not in that unique way. I can't even remember your full question now.
Well, just kind of speaking to, like I said, at times I feel like, I guess, well, I'll kind of go backwards and kind of ask this question of the narrative of the record. Is it hard when you're picking singles, when you're kind of looking at this as a full piece, to start picking it apart and go, okay, this is how we kind of want to present the thing? Is it hard for you to do that, knowing that you kind of look at this more as a full thing?
It's not easy. Like, it's not easy, but I wouldn't say it's hard either. It's more just getting everyone on the same page can be harder. But as an individual, I think it can be easier because, again, we all can tell a story like in our own way. But telling a story as a collective, there has to be a discussion and a communication of how it could be told as a group, like, as a band. So, and then once that's explained, and there's reasoning, justification behind why this single would be the most appropriate first, because it shows this and this that we could do an ability, but also it opens people up to understand that the band is here, even though we want to get them here.
Yeah.
Whereas, you hit them with the shocking first song, you hit them with the shocking song first, which can be like intentionally good if you really want to just ruffle feathers and get interest straight away. But it has a shadow too, so you've got to look at what happens. And I think it's just a bit of moving around the pieces. Again, you can't control how it be received, but you can control the narrative in which you tell it. E.g., the description could be, here's our heaviest song ever. It's going to shock you, so it's already setting people up for that mentality. So look, I think that unfortunately, the day and age of listening to albums top to bottoms, is over. Music lovers, if they love a song or a couple of songs enough, naturally they will, I hope, go to discover the album and just want to play it for themselves. But in reality, if you don't have those 2, 3, the 3 songs that a lot of energy was put behind in terms of promoting them as singles, getting them into these playlists and whatever the hell happens, they're not going to be the bait that draws people in, because people just judge books on a book on the cover straight up, unless they're exposed to the band on a tour because they were going for another artist and they won over. It'd be a great way to bring people into, it's more than just that song. I get it now. I don't know if there's any way to navigate this whole thing correctly. It's just, again, it's an organic thing that it's just going to happen, or it won't.
I think what's funny, you sort of reminded me as you were just saying all that. I had this weird epiphany last night. My wife and I have been watching a new show, and they do the thing like everyone does, where they show previously on and then kind of recap either the last episode, the last few things plot point wise that matter to what you're about to watch. And I just had this weird epiphany where I was like, it's kind of fucked up that you can summarize either an hour show or tentatively 2 to 3 hours worth of a show in 45 seconds. So it makes you kind of go, is the rest not necessary? Or is it really about the experience of the storytelling to get you there and the investment that you have, because you have character development and building and story building and all this kind of stuff? But it was just kind of a weird epiphany to kind of realize that you can condense down so much work and something that took so much time and effort and all this stuff. And then it's just like, yeah, here it all is in just 30 seconds. And you're like, huh. And it kind of made me think about how that's sort of, I guess, the world we live in now with how we consume entertainment. It's just like, give me the 30-second recap and then I'll just move on going forward. And it's like, that sucks.
Yeah, look, there's information versus experience, and really what he's saying is there's like it's knowledge versus wisdom at the end of the day, and you don't get the wisdom in 45 seconds. You get the knowledge of what happened, but you didn't get the experience to live what those characters went through and the emotion that it brought out in yourself, and the experience or the enjoyment or the despair or whatever it was that really actually anchors that knowledge deep within when there's a felt experience. And otherwise it's just goldfish stuff that just dissipates and disappears. And like that's kind of where we are with like, yeah, as a species and as a worldly view, there's a lot of knowledge and accessibility to it all, but like it's not wisdom because it's not felt. It's not like in the body, even as how we teach things. Like it's not, there's no masters of something. It's much rarer masters of something. It's no, I can dabble in all these different things because I've done all these YouTube fucking things, but I haven't actually like, sat with this one thing and lived it. So it's a blessing and a curse, at the same time. It's what we do with the knowledge and how we can have that be a lived experience. So yeah, look, what show are you watching?
It's called Good Behavior. It's a show about a mom that got out of prison, drugs and all that kind of shit, ends up trying to get her kid back, ends up dating this guy this isn't really a spoiler, but is a hitman. They fall in love essentially, and then the two of them, like she's a drug addict, stealing person. He's a hitman, so they're trying to navigate, like it's the second season now, so they're trying to navigate where they're like, we want to make this work as a family, and you're just like, and they're like, so like at one point they're like, well, you said you weren't going to kill anyone anymore, and she's like, well, you said you weren't stealing shit, and then they're just like, okay, well, we have to figure these things out. And it's interesting because I think maybe being married, going on 9 years, and being with my wife for a little over 13 now, but it's interesting to just see sometimes when you watch these shows just how you think these people couldn't be further from, like, not compatible in any way, shape, or form, but it's almost this weird balancing act of what the other person lacks, the other one makes up for, and understanding that, even as hard as it may be, where you're like, I just don't think this is, we're not good for each other, this doesn't work, but then realizing that when you don't have that person, that counterbalance, that it is kind of the thing that makes you whole, and it's the thing you've been looking for. And I feel like that's sort of how my wife and I are, where it's like, she is a very kind of by the book person, very impatient. I'm very patient. I'll just be very malleable with things. I mean, I was joking the other day because I saw this time hop on Facebook when I popped on for a couple of days ago, where it was like going to Atlanta, because like Atlanta is like one of our favorite places to go to. And I was like excited to go see LeBron James. We're going to go see a Lakers game and, get to see him before he retires. And like, I was just really stoked. And then I was joking with her. I was like, you remember this story? I was like, we booked a whole trip ready to go. We were leaving in like a few weeks or like a month. And I go, and then literally the next time we talked about it, it was a friend of ours was going. We're going to Nashville. Nothing that we had discussed was what we were doing. And I kind of was like a little agitated because I'm like, I like started making plans to go do this thing. And now you just completely like changed everything. But she does that so often that I just learned to be like, don't be married to anything. Like, just be ready for the experience and the ride, and wherever you do and whatever you're doing, you'll have fun with it. And she takes me out of my shell doing that, and has allowed me to travel and see a lot of different things in the US, like hopefully, and then not this year with my ankle surgery, but maybe next year, the year after, trying to dip into more, I was going to say touring internationally, but traveling internationally and doing that and kind of seeing different parts of the world that we live in. Because I feel like for me, it's just so interesting to see how other people live, and like kind of taking in different cultures and different vibes. Famously, I've said when people are like, why do you like Atlanta so much? And I'm like, it's not really something I can tell you. I can. And the only thing I can really say, it just feels progressive in a way that you just feel when you're there, you feel welcomed. You feel like you could be and do anything. And you see so many different walks of life living there, and no one makes you feel like you're not welcome. And it's just, honestly, it's a vibe. It's a feeling when you see it. It's Southern hospitality sort of in personified. And the handful of people we've taken with us there over the years are just like, yeah, like this place is just kind of special and magical. So it's one of those that to me, I just kind of, I don't know. Again, I can't ever just do something and just be like, oh, that was that. It's like, well, what does this mean to me? Why do I like this? And even like I said, with the show, it's like we're watching and I'm like, oh God, I feel like I identify with these characters because this sort of is my relationship to a degree. I don't kill people and she doesn't steal, tens of thousands of dollars from people, but there's sort of this harmonious balance of, balancing each other out.
Yeah. Well, that's good writing. It's a good show. Getting into the psychology of it's got to obviously be different to draw you in, but it's touching on like real things, just camouflaged as other things, basically.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day because a few people have been like, "Oh, I'm out of shows. What are you watching?" And I was like, "Oh, we're just kind of watching this one thing," because my wife isn't super adventurous with TV. Like she'll just watch her comfort things, which a lot of it isn't shit I'm into. But I was telling someone, I was like, "Oh, you need to watch Midnight Mass." It was on, I think, Netflix. And they're like, "What's it about?" And I was like, honestly, I can't really explain it. Like it's sort of Stephen King-esque, it's people on a remote island, so they're kind of stuck to their own devices and themselves. It's sort of a religious thing. It's sort of a thriller horror movie type thing. I was like, honestly though, it's so engaging. Like it's such a slow burn. Like 4 or 5 episodes in, you're just kind of like, when is stuff going to start happening? But then when all of the things start happening, you're just like, holy shit. And it's one where the only thing I kind of could correlate it to was the first and only time I've ever seen Midsommar, where I was like, it just kind of, because of the religious connotations of it, it just really stuck with me, where it's made me think about a lot of things. And, even Midsommar is getting another release, at least here in the States, I think for like a weekend or a day or something. And I'm kind of on the fence about going to see it because it's like the only time I saw it was when my wife and I were coming back from Vegas, and I had it on a laptop and I was like in noise canceling headphones, like a few inches from the screen. So I was just in it. And it was just such a well done movie. And just, there's so many things in it that make me think about life. Like spoilers, I guess. Have you seen Midsommar? Okay. So like a big one for me, 2 things that jumped out to me upon that first viewing. I don't know what the director has, but in both Hereditary and Midsommar, people who are mentally handicapped in some capacity are sort of these clairvoyant beings for religion or like that side of things, because they're not tainted by whatever we as not divinely touched people or whatever. So I kind of would like to explore more of that. And what does that mean? And like, where does that come from? Is it something based in reality, or just this one dude's like, here's an idea that I've never seen? But a lot of people don't really pick up on that. And then the other one that I really was kind of fascinated with is the idea of how the movie starts, where I think it's when you're 62 or 65, where you basically, that's it, you're done. And to me, I kind of like that idea because it's like, and maybe this is because I had to put my dog down like shortly before I watched this movie, but it's a thing where I like the idea and the sentiment of you go out, when you're going out, within reason, you're at your full capabilities, and you don't experience any of the downside of aging out. And there's the finality of knowing when it's coming, getting to live your life to the fullest. And I totally understand that, because I feel like after having to put my dog down, where it's like, it's almost really inhumane. I feel like that we just keep people alive because we're selfish and we need them. We want them, instead of kind of letting them go because they've lived a full life already. And I know that's like really heady and just like kind of out there thoughts, because like people are like, that's fucked up. Like, how could you, assisted suicide and shit like that? It's like, that's not cool. And it's like, well, I feel like it's better than the alternative of watching people, suffer through dementia or horrible cancers and stuff like that. So it's a thing to me where I feel like that's the more compassionate thing. And why is it that we're more compassionate for our forever best friends than our own family members? Where's the compassion in that?
Yeah, well, families, what you often feel like you get stuck with friends or the family you choose. And, you know, yeah. Well, it sounds like you think a lot. You've got a lot going on.
Yeah. That's why people.
That's not a judgment or a bad thing. It's just that's like part of your superpower, if you will. And look, yeah, we can unpack that. I'm not gonna. We could
No,
unpack that.
that would be like a whole other thing.
Maybe a whole other thing. But I meant what you just said about the things you just said. Look, that I will. Yeah, often children in general, and you can't generalize to say that people with disabilities, which is also like even the term disability. Like my stepdad works with people with different abilities, as they like to say. And there, it's like for them, it's actually it's superpower. Maybe not in functioning in like, going to the bank and fucking filling out a tax return, which is like, who wants to do that anyway? But in terms of creating art and like being present, they're incredibly like gifted. It's like their superpower because they don't have that, like, I guess you call it like a conditioning or like another thing there. And maybe the director's touching on that thing where, like, in a sense, I'm not trying to compare children and someone with different abilities, but there's this thing where like the joy and the imagination and what's actually being present and can come through is like more in touch with spirit, which is pretty much what we're all trying to get back to. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like we're born pretty pure, if you will, without no conditioning and no past, nothing, no comparison. And ultimately just wanted to get back to that place because it's harmony. At the end of the day, we are. Maybe some of us get to it at 62, 65 when we get pushed off a cliff or walk off a cliff, as you say in Midsummer. I think that's probably, without getting into the politics of that, it's probably up to the person. You could decide that. They could decide that because, again, if it was enforced as a society, it would be problematic. And yeah, it gets into a whole level of, I'm just like ethics and the whole thing. But I hear what you're saying. But maybe also you like the idea of it because it's you've got control. There's control over it rather than fear of the unknown of when you might and how you might go. Or but I think there's an exciting. Not to call it exciting, but there is something in that. Like it'd be damn boring if we knew like everything. So maybe we wouldn't be as present now, or maybe be more present if you knew you had an endpoint. Who's to say?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've kind of been thinking about this more as of late because of two tattoo artists that I don't know personally. I know a bunch of people that do know these people, but they both just passed in the last like 2 to 3 weeks from cancer and stuff like that. And even seeing, I think the one that hit me the hardest was one of them. This artist Ryan Hadley, he had gone through all the chemo and stuff like that, and it just came back. And he was like, "It's not going to go away. Like it's not a question of when or if, it's a question of when." And I've really been thinking about like if you were given that information, like you got no more than a month, what does that look like? What does that do to you? How do you live differently? What do you try to give to others through wisdom or experiences or whatever? I feel like knowing, because I think, you touched on something I think a lot of people say when I get onto this subject, because people are like, well, you just want the control of knowing. And it's like, I don't think I want the control of knowing. I think I just want the ability to make sure that I'm doing everything I can in this life. Like, I feel like it's something I've become more intentional with of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and just kind of getting the experiences, because I don't know what will happen. And I think to me, kind of, at least if you knew, then it would be kind of maybe steer you into being like, you know what, this thing terrifies me, whatever that thing is, maybe learning something, going somewhere, doing something, but I know I'm going to go. So like, why not do it? Why not get that experience? Why not seek those things? And it's a thing where, to kind of start wrapping this up, it reminds me, and when you were kind of talking about like the 10,000 hours and stuff like that, and some people, changing their minds on whatever it is they're into. My wife conveniently another time we were flying somewhere, it was like, oh, there's this TED talk. And I was going to Google who it was because I can never remember the person's name. But she basically was talking about the idea of multi-potentialites. The fact that when we're born, when we're young, we get asked, what do you want to be when you get older, singularly? And that we almost tend to find people who are very passionate about learning a lot of different things. And even if that passion only lasts for a month, a year, whatever, that it's almost frowned upon that you spent that time being so passionate about this thing until you just weren't anymore. And then you focused and shifted to something else. And that really kind of struck me because it's like, that's me. Like I get really passionate about a lot of different things. And some might go, well, you're not really focused on anything. And it's like, no, maybe not. But I feel like I'm getting more well-rounded in a lot of different things that then can show up somewhere else in my life, that it's like, had I not explored this path, I may not have gotten here. I may not have come to this conclusion. I may not have done this thing. And it's all relative, I feel like.
Well, it comes back down to your experience. Are you enjoying it, or what are you getting out of it? Not for an outcome. At the end of the day, like we're here to do the work, whatever that is for everyone. I believe, like, we're here to do the work. And there are a lot of people that, from at least what I've seen, a lot of people that were medically declared dead. They literally flatlined, but then they came back. A lot of those people, like, what happened in that time? Where did you go? Like, did you go to heaven, or like, what was it? And it was, there's for the most part, it seems like, to generalize it, there was a leaving of the body, like a witnessing of what was happening, like a leaving, an awareness. But there was a life review that went down in that process, and that wasn't like my diploma and how many countries I went to, but it was like, it was the people, all the things. There's not things, the people that I touched, or how I loved, basically how I loved, and how I enjoyed. Not in a physical, like how I enjoyed food or whatever. I don't mean like that, but really the richness of life. And that's what it came down to, coming back. And so I just come back to, like, it comes back to the, what's watching the full show versus the 45-second recap. And it's like, what are those things that were felt? That was the ultimate wisdom of that, rather than the knowledge that was obtained. So many ways to get there, though, and there's no right way for any one person, whether that's the one focused thing or the many. We're always trying to work it out, and there's no rule book, because we're such complicated yet very simple beings at the end of the day.
Yeah. And
whatever brings us back, I come back to whatever brings us back to presence. And like, the mind is an incredible way to sort of understand and access things. But getting out of the mind, or through the mind, to get back to presence, for me is the doorway back to, like, this makes sense. It's a knowing, it's a wisdom, this feels right. That to me is the, I don't want to say the essence, but that's the juice of life, where I have my most incredible moments that stay with me, that have stayed with me. And that could be being on stage where an hour set just feels like one breath, where I didn't even know when it started, when it stopped, but it was just this feeling of, like, bliss is the best way to put an expression, a oneness presence with a crowd, which rarely, doesn't always happen. I'd be lucky if it happens once in a week, when it just connects, but it does. And it's like, profound, whatever it is for different people. I can't say, but I think that to me is getting back to that childlike state, which isn't always withheld for long periods of time. It's just accessed in and out. And we always try to, how can we hold that? But the more we hold it, the more it slips through. So it's just, as long as we can dance with it, I think that's the key.
It's funny you say that as we're wrapping up, as I watched Inside Out, the first one, last night, and was just kind of having all these things, like the part with, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen it, but the part with Bing Bong, the child's imaginary friend that was lost in the back catalog of just memories and stuff, and essentially sacrificing himself for one of the main characters to continue on. And it's like, oh, the loss of innocence and these memories of your childhood. And how, the idea and concept of core memories aren't always necessarily what we see them to be. The whole thing of like keeping sadness away from happy and joy memories or things like that. And something that's so profound, and it's a fucking kids movie, but just like that sometimes you need both. They balance each other out. The duality of life of sometimes the sadness brings the joy brings the sadness, the anger brings, whatever. And you have to experience all of them to kind of be a more rounded, fuller person. But that also understanding that things that are important now may fall by the wayside to create new and other core memories and experiences and so forth. And I know it's a kids movie, but it's funny that we're kind of talking about.
Is it a kids movie? I said,
Inside Out.
Kids movie?
Yeah, I mean, it's like any Pixar movie where it's like it's made for kids, but essentially it's.
I've seen it, but I'm asking you, is it a kids movie?
I think Pixar does a really good job of making something that if you just are looking at it at surface level, it can be that. But if you're looking for more, then it also is that too. It can be more if you're willing to take the dive and just understand what it is. And there's something so crazy about making something so simple but so complex, and it really is dependent on your vantage point and where you're at. Yeah.
Well, it's made by adults, and it's very intentional.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's there to be digested by children, but it's not a children's movie. Like I really believe that Pixar's is so like, there's a lot of essence. They do a really good job.
Yeah.
At sugarcoating like deeper essences and deeper things. That the thing is, dude, when do we become adults? Like we're always the kids always inside all of us, always like there's sure there's certain things like, dude, grow up. Like you can't get away with that now. I get that childish behavior, but it's still the same imagination, joy, and intrigue and curiosity. As soon as curiosity dies, we might as well just kill it. We might as well just jump off the bridge. Don't
Absolutely.
do that anymore.
Yeah. Last question for you, so I can let you get back to your day and finish up mine. But where can everyone find you, or anything you would like to plug?
inhartswake.com.
Looking forward to hopefully. I can't remember if you guys are coming to Michigan on any of these runs, but
Lansing. I think you're playing Lansing, dude.
Ah, shit. Well, hopefully I'm not laid up and can't make it, because I would love to come out and see a show. It's been a few years. Huh? That's true. I guess I would. Yeah,
I know, because we had a couple of like we brought people in on wheelchairs last time, like to the same show. I'm pretty sure. I think it's the same venue at Lansing. But anyhow, I'm not telling you to come in a wheelchair. You do what you got to do. So it's up to you. But maybe that's your return to form in the pit.
Sure.
With, the most metal leg you've ever seen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time. This has been something I've been looking forward to. I was trying to make it happen when the documentary was coming out a few years ago, and that just didn't happen for whatever reason. But I'm a firm believer that things happen when they're supposed to, and to just enjoy the moments when I get them with essentially strangers. So thank you for the honesty and sincerity of this hour-long conversation, and looking forward for everyone to hear the record and to hopefully rip a gig when you guys come through.
Thanks, John. Have a beautiful time healing. I hope you discover epic parts of yourself. Truly, like there's an opportunity to just do something that you've always wanted to do, or discover something new, like whatever that is. Think about it, feel it, and I hope that like you come out of it, having not only healed and solving that physical problem, but you've got also some epic new superpowers in your little kit. And you've got big kit, I should say. We are kids, so I said little, but
Well, that's absolutely. Thank you for that, and enjoy the rest of your night, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
So that was my conversation with Jake from In Heart's Wake. Want to thank him once again for taking the time to chat with me, and even beyond kind of the podcast to a musician thing, but just on a personal level, I want to thank him for the words of encouragement and for kind of getting into the weeds there at the end. It's been interesting, sort of, I alluded to a multitude of reasons why I've been thinking about this conversation, this chat, and where it falls when, I'm recording this part of everything. But it's funny how it has popped up in other facets of my life in the last few weeks. Like my wife and I went and saw Inside Out 2, and when we were getting tickets and going to the movie, I was thinking of Jake and I kind of dissecting, Inside Out 1, and is it a kid's movie? Is it something bigger? Is there something that we can take away from, this entertainment that we take in that may seem like it's very to the point, very obvious in its representations of what it's saying, but thinking more about it beyond just surface level things. And obviously I feel like In Heart's Wake is one of those kind of bands, and Jake's lyrics are one of those things where, as I've said countless times, talking about this band and others, they're a very intentional band. Everything they do has a meaning, has a purpose. There is a reason it is there. And trying to navigate your own life with such a purpose, I think, is very inspiring and something I need to remind myself of at times. But also thinking about this episode, there was something my wife said the other day, and I was trying to remember why it sounded so familiar. And when listening back to this one to kind of see if there's anything, I wanted to mention, I realized it was because it was something Jake had said. And so it's always interesting when life kind of keeps things in your line of sight, in your vision, however you want to put that. And if you're paying attention, you kind of pick up on these things. But if you're not, you're probably you may not even notice. And maybe it doesn't make you pause and think a little bit more beyond just what's happening. As I said kind of in the intro, I'm sorry to those that maybe I have bombarded with the looming surgery tomorrow for me as when I'm recording this, and everything that I've been feeling as a result of it, and a lot of other things that have come to light in the last month or two. Ultimately, though, it's something that I hope for myself, even if I go back and listen to these episodes and so forth, that maybe I can extract something from it, whether it be a reminder to not beat myself up, to not feel afraid of things, not feel something, to not even feel that saying these things is bad. As I said in the intro, kind of very quickly, I was reminded from a few people discussing some of their own things going on in their life where they have felt trepidation and fear and all of that. And, it's ultimately not as scary as a surgery. And so it kind of gave them strength or made them not feel alone. Those things, when people send that back to me, make me feel the same way. So always appreciative of people taking the time to send DMs, send emails, whatever. Going to start wrapping up this episode, though, because I have to mow the lawn because my wife's not very good at it, as I learned somewhat recently when I was trying to teach her how to mow a lawn, which is as close to a dad moment as I'm probably ever going to get. And I felt a little bit of my dad coming out when her lines were not the greatest when she was mowing, and trying to explain why you mow one way one week and another one another week and so forth, and how to, line up your lines and so forth. It was sort of amusing to just think back to being probably 11 or 12 maybe, and learning that myself versus my wife being 39. So I think this will be the last mow of the year, so I'm going to do that so she does not have to. I already walked the dog, so I'm trying to do a few things that I can to take these things off my wife's plate for the next little while. But great thanks to everybody who has sent words of encouragement. Currently live on Instagram, and I see Nathan. Why did I say it like that? Holy shit. Nathaniel Bowden saying that as well. So thank you for everybody. It's hard. I am appreciative that everybody has been reaching out, but it's also a bit of a struggle to kind of deal with all this shit. And I'll be very glad when it's over and I don't have to. But that'll be for tomorrow. Start wrapping up this episode. If you would like to keep up with In Heart's Wake, it is really, really fucking simple. Go to inheartswake.com. That is the landing page for everything. Otherwise, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I will not call it X. Formerly X, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't care. In Heart's Wake. And if you'd like to keep up with Jake, you can find him on Instagram at Jake G. Taylor and Twitter at InHeartsJake. And if you'd like to keep up with the podcast, you can find us simple enough at BrutalllySpeakPod on all your major social media platforms. Email me at brutallyspeaking@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe wherever you can on whatever platform, device, whatever it allows you to do it, please and thank you. And I want to send a huge shout out to rockabilia.com. Head on over there, use our code brutally at checkout, take 10% off your total purchase order. Want to thank them for a lot of things. Essentially, as I've said countless times, but I don't want it to be understated how much they are helping me through all of this. Essentially being my only source of income moving forward. So I've already got about 6 or 7 podcasts already slated for my downtime, working on a ton more, because if I can't do anything other than sit and lay down, well, damn it, I can sit and do these. So it'll at least give me something to look forward to. I don't know if I'll be on a bunch of drugs or not. That'll be interesting to figure out, but I'll deal with that when that happens. So without further ado, that's it for this episode of the Brutally Speaking podcast. I will see you all next week, where we have a returning Michael Stauney from Dark Tranquility. God damn, that motherfucker is 50 years old, looks absolutely amazing. But you know what? We'll get into that next week. Enjoy the rest of your week. I will try to enjoy mine, and I will talk to you all then.